you get in what you get out, right? I'm sure you've probably heard of that phrase or that term, and you've probably tried to apply it, but it especially applies for when it comes to working out and lifting, right? If you want to see some actual gains, some actual strength results, you can't just be flapping around your arms in the gym and then doing 3 sets of, I don't know, goofing around and expect to some type of results, right? You have to be actually training hard, right? And how can you know if you're training hard? There's a bunch of different metrics to it, but in the case of wanting to build more muscle and strength, you have to take things farther, to a point to where they're going to, once you get to there, you'll kind of know like, oh, okay, I've been training like, I don't know, like a wuss or something for the past year, right? So the reason why a lot of people won't see progress in the gym is because they just don't know how to push themselves, right? They don't know how to push themselves properly enough to actually gain some type of muscle or strength or some type of noticeable difference within their physique, right? And you do this by what I say is called going to failure, right? Or training in a way that allows for you to progressively overload, right? So you can progressively overload with things like reps, things like adding more weight, and adding more sets is also an option. But I feel like you're just gonna be what you're just gonna add more sets to the point to where you're doing like 10 sets a session or something. So really, just kind of like stick to reps and stick to the weight, right? So if you can see that over time that you're able to do, let's say, weighted chin ups for 35 pounds, and at first you're doing 5 reps. Now you are doing 6 reps the next week, and then the week after that you're doing 7 reps, right? That's progress. That's you progressively overloading. That means that you've gotten stronger and you're able to handle that weight a lot better, right? And when it comes to going to failure, that one is kind of like it's almost self-explanatory. So what that means is you do your set and you keep pushing until you cannot get another rep, until it's inconceivable for your body to get another rep. Even if your mind is telling your body to try and push even further, but your body just will not listen to what your mind is saying, then that means the set is over. Not It's not when you get a little slightly uncomfortable. It's not when your muscles start to ache a little bit. It's when you can no longer perform that movement whatsoever. And a lot of people don't understand this, right? People will go into the gym and do just push-ups, or they'll, I don't know, get on the treadmill or something, whatever. No diss on cardio, but I'm just saying, like, if someone wanted to get like bigger muscles or whatever, then of course doing cardio all the time is going to be the best thing for building muscle. But you want to be pushing yourself. You want to take things to failure, right? What comes after failure? Success, right? After enough failures, after enough hardships, there's going to be success at some point. But you can't have success when you're not pushing towards failure, when you're not at the risk of failure, basically, right? Kind of think about it like that, right? So think of how you might come out of your comfort zone to improve in any aspect of life. Lifting is going to be the same exact way. If you want to improve with anything, you have to try and push yourself, right? And you have to push yourself in the gym, right? So many times when I train with friends, whether they come to my place or we go to a gym or whatever, they tend to like kind of just stop. They do their set and then they just stop. They don't look like they really struggled. They just kind of maybe set like a number of reps that they wanted to get to their head, and then they just kind of stop there. Or they like just kind of felt like, oh, I feel my muscles a little bit. Let me just stop the set here. That's not how it works. You don't gain muscle. You don't build any type of strength from that. That's not how it works. What you do is you're supposed to go until you cannot, right? I'll see my friends do push-ups and I'll just look like, one of my friends actually, when we were in school, sometimes with some sets, I'll see him, do the movement. Let's just say push-ups, for example. And he just kind of stops the set. His last rep didn't look grindy. His last rep didn't look like it was hard. His last rep looked like it was easy. It looked like he had like maybe 3 more reps in. And I said, bro, like I'll tell him, like, bro, you have like probably 3 more reps. Like, why are you stopping? And so he would keep going, right? Because with me, like, I'm gonna hold you accountable, bro. I'm gonna catch what you're doing and I'm gonna tell you about it because I feel like that's just what any friend should do. Any friend should notice anything that, if you're slipping up in anything, and like try and tell you about it, try and hold, tell you what's up. And you have to kind of, if you don't have a training partner or you don't have someone more experienced in the gym, you kind of have to hold yourself more accountable as well, right? What I like to do is me showing videos of me lifting and working out, so you can see the effort I'm putting into my training. You can see what it looks like when someone is training hard, right? At least I believe I'm training hard. So that way you as a viewer can see like, okay, maybe I should be pushing myself like this, right? There are many times where I'll just kind of like even just put the weight down, or I'll just kind of breathe for a second, and then I'll keep continuing on with the set, just because I know that there's a bit more that I can squeeze out, and there's just a bit more in me that I can get out from this weight or from this certain exercise, right? Like with pull-ups, for example, it's completely fine if like you feel like you might have reached your max pull-up in that set, but then getting off the bar, maybe waiting like maybe a couple of seconds, like 10 seconds, just breathe, and then get right back on the bar, and then maybe you perform like 3 more or 2 more reps. That's completely fine, right? That's you still getting as much as you can from that set. I would still count that as one set, right? Even with maybe even curls, just letting the weight sit down there and your hands at the bottom position just for a couple of seconds while you breathe and gather yourself, that's a way to further push yourself with that weight, just with that one set, without having to feel like, I don't know, you're not doing enough, right? Just to kind of squeeze more out of it, right? And speaking of kind of like doing sets, right? I only really ever do 2 sets per exercise. I used to do 3 sets, but I found that 2 sets was just as effective, like for almost like half a year now, maybe, or a little bit more than a year actually. I've really just been doing 2 sets per exercise because that's still pretty effective. I'm still gaining strength. I don't think I'm leaving like any gains on the table. I've seen my physique progress even more, and I feel like I can even kind of recover even better because I'm not doing 3 sets per exercise, but I'm doing 2 sets. Sometimes I'll do 3 sets because I might be having a little bit of fun with the movement. But still, it's not going to kind of affect your training, right? The only reason why maybe doing less than 3 sets or doing 2 sets would be ineffective is if, again, you're not progressively overloading and you are not training to failure, right? You are not really pushing yourself and seeing the limits of your own performance in that moment of whatever exercise that you're doing, right? The reason why I have my physique the way it is because from day one, I treated it very seriously. I trained and worked out and pushed and pushed and pushed. From day one, I basically wanted to feel the pain, I suppose, right? The pain of exercise, of lifting weights, of resistance training, and how the tension is on your muscles. I really liked how that felt, and I like how that feels now. Some people don't push themselves to failure purely because they just don't like how it feels. They say it hurts. Like, bro, I don't know, bro, but when I hear people talk about like, yeah, I don't want to work out because it hurts, or like, I was at school and we were in the gym, and I heard this guy talking about, man, in order for you to like this, you have to be like a masochist or something. But it's like, bro, it's just, this is what you need to do, this is what has to happen in order for you to get any type of progress. You have to face some sort of pain, failure, some sort of just low in order to get a high, right? Not like a high like drugs or anything, but in order to basically achieve anything, you have to face adversity, whether that could be against factors within the outside world or against your own self, right? And so in order to basically improve yourself, you have to get over yourself. You have to find ways in which you want to basically keep yourself accountable, in ways that you want to strengthen yourself. That could be mentally, physically, and with strength comes pain, I suppose. With strength comes pain. In order to attain that strength, you have to go through some sort of pain or discomfort. Maybe not like, ow, my leg got cut off pain, but something that's going to be uncomfortable, something that is not going to last forever, something that will not last forever, because if it lasts forever, then it would just be suffering, right? But some of the people who worked the hardest had went through the most pain, right? Some of the people who have achieved great success have went through some of the most pain, right? Whether that wouldn't have been voluntarily or involuntarily, mostly involuntarily, but we can basically achieve the ability to control our own minds and our body by basically seeing what type of pain we can handle by putting ourselves through certain points of suffering, like exercise, for example, or like maybe reaching certain failures when it comes to maybe landing a new job or trying to start some type of business or something like that, whatever the case may be. So all in all, what you get in is what you get out. Are you training hard enough? Are you basically pushing yourself hard enough to get any results that you want to see for any aspect of life, right? You just have to ask yourself that. Peace out.